In a world of Johnnies, Timmies, and Spikes, we must all arrive at the win condition.
Hello again, and welcome back to the Win Condition Podcast, your source for lore, news, and brews in the Magic the Gathering community. My name is Sean. I'm your host. I'm joined by my co-host, Greg. How's it going, Greg?
Doing great.
Yay! Fan-flippin-tastic here towards the end of May, and things are really starting to get hot. Time for our weekly weather report. Greg, how's the Bay Area looking today?
About 65 to 70.
Only?
Only.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty chill over here. I mean, I went on a bike ride on Friday in Alameda, and it didn't top 62.
Pretty chill.
Mm-hmm.
Almost got away with
I
that
hear
one, Greg.
You're getting around 90-something, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, high 80s mostly, getting towards the 90s. And, God, so thankful I have a pool. As friggin'
bet.
hard as it is to keep the chemicals in line with that bad boy, gosh, just being able to jump in there after a hard day's work is so nice.
Well,
so
remember,
nice.
you got to take your shower first, but yeah.
Yeah, right. But speaking of so nice, if you want something very nice, you can go ahead and head on over to Flipside Gaming at flipsidegaming.com, where you can order any product from Magic or other gaming-related games, and use that promo code WINCONDITION in all caps. Any order over $10 will save you 10% off your purchase, which will help contribute to future show giveaways. Hey, Greg, I played a little Magic this week.
Wait a minute.
Right?
Is my co-host Sean?
Yeah, the
Yeah.
guy who never is able to play any Magic actually played Magic this week.
That's
Well,
crazy.
I'm going to break it down for you real quick. I've been fascinated with this Brawl format. So I had 3 Brawl decks built. And my wife, who does like to play on occasion, as well as my stepson, who actually is taking quite a liking to playing, and then my stepdaughter, who will play when you threaten to take away her phone, or else, she kind of has to. No, but in all honesty, we sat down and I built a 4th Brawl deck out of one of Travis's old dinosaur decks, a white-green dinosaur deck. I put Shalai as the commander, and then honestly, I wanted to keep it kind of simple. I didn't want to have to explain to them the whole idea of commanders, so we just shuffled the commanders into the deck and played, 60 card standard, and it was a whole lot of fun. I played against Travis
Now,
using the.
that was a
Oh, go ahead.
tiered game you guys did. You didn't do the 4-player free-for-all.
No, we did not. We had it set up as sort of a mini tournament. So I played against Travis with the Dino deck, and Ashley played against Taylor. Ashley was on Whatley Radiant Champion, and Taylor was on Arvad. And
Seems perfect for a teenage daughter.
oh man, yeah, right. Vampires, they're all into that stuff, right? Like
Pretty
Twilight
emo.
or whatever.
Something
But
like that.
yeah, but anyway, I ended up winning in a very long game with Travis, and Ashley actually was able to aggro out Taylor relatively quickly, which kind of makes sense. Whatley is a very low to the ground, fast deck, and Arvad takes quite a while to build up, but is extremely powerful. I thought we were going to be playing 4-player free for all, which is kind of how I structured the decks a little bit, but 1v1 was still Magic, and it was still very, very fun.
It was magical.
It was incredibly
to say the
magical. I
least,
enjoyed
yeah.
every moment of it.
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
Greg,
You know it would be a fun way to play Brawl?
what would be a fun way to play Brawl?
Plane Chase.
Oh,
Because
I
your
like.
effects aren't like super strong and wonky, so it'll add some interesting play.
Right, right. And it seems like a lot of these decks out the gate aren't going to stomp you, immediately.
Well,
But
depending.
in Depending, yeah. But in a longer game, in a bigger game, something like Plane Chase to kind of add just a little bit of spice.
Yeah.
As long as it's not that create a 7/7 Eldrazi creature with Annihilator 1. That thing's brutal. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, I'm definitely an advocate for Plane Chase. Absolutely love it. Um and dude, that would be really fun. If we get together in person, we should definitely try some Brawl Plane Chase
You
sometime soon.
know, Norn's Dominion will come out and just wreck everything.
Yep. That
Yeah, yeah.
will, as long as you don't get to put those counters on your stuff to make them indestructible. But
I just might.
hey,
So, on top of you playing Magic, I played
uh-huh.
Magic too.
You did.
I did. I play a lot of Magic. I'm going to be missing out on playing my Magic till the end of this week, potentially. I don't know. We'll see
Oh
how it
no.
works out. Yeah, well, with Memorial Day being tomorrow, I got to work. Got to
Oh
make that money.
jeez.
More money,
Yep.
more
Well,
problems.
I got thanks, Diddy. But I've got my work week shifting by a day. So instead of being off Friday, I'll be off Monday. So I will be working Tuesday through Friday of this week. But such is life.
Could
But
turn the
anyway, you
AC on
played
for
some
my
Magic,
house.
Greg, and you said that
Yeah.
you did some fun and interesting stuff. Tell us a little bit about that.
I always do fun and interesting stuff. Well, I'm going to talk about another one that I didn't talk to you prior to this. What?
Lay it on me,
So,
brother.
I played my Selvala deck, which I don't know if you guys have seen it or heard about it or I've talked about it. I don't even know. But it's a life gain deck. I mean, EDH life gain is something you don't really see too often because nobody plays it unless
Right.
it's an Aloro control deck. And even then, it's not that great. Or like Eily decks do it too. But I did green white life gain with Selvala. So I got out like a turn 4 actually, Boon Reflect, or not Boon, Beacon of Immortality.
Oh, nice,
So I doubled
nice.
my life. I went to like 80 something, and just kept going on about my day because I was playing against a Kumbal deck. And then after some time, I got to land that Paradox engine.
Ooh, very
And
nice.
then if I'm tapping Selvala and getting 2 to 3 mana plus a card and everything, I'm just getting better and better. I got out my our Chrome's Memorial. I got out my Azor's Gateway. I then flipped my Azor's Gateway.
Oh man.
Yeah,
In a
I'm
life
just
gain deck?
yeah. I
Oh,
think I was around like 160 at that time.
the hell are you doing with 160 mana?
No, life.
No, I know, but if you tap your Azor's Gateway,
Oh, you cast all your white spells.
oh my gosh, that's just dirty. But it's white, so it's clean, I guess.
I don't know. Is green clean?
Can be kind of
And
moldy too, I
so
guess.
so that one I pretty much got to the point of where one of the players was like, all right, so how are you going to win? You're not putting out a lot of creatures, and I'm like, I'm gonna get Aetherflux Reservoir and just dome you guys.
Oh my
And
god.
they're like, oh, yeah, all right, you've got the card draw, you're gonna get there. We don't need to play this
that's
anymore.
that's like you could just take out 150 of your own life and kill 3 people at once.
Well,
That's
the
pretty
funny
brutal.
thing about that deck is that I've gotten up to 30,000.
Okay, how many opponents would you need to be playing to use all that life to kill everybody? Tune in
Uh,
next week when we do the math.
Pretty much, right?
Yeah. Wow. No, that's pretty ridiculous, man. That's awesome. So,
600.
okay.
I
All
can
right.
kill the entirety of every player that goes into most GPs.
Wow. Wow. That Aether Flux Reservoir, man. Nobody saw it coming. Jeez.
Everybody saw that coming. What are you talking about? Anyhow,
Nice.
that was just one of the fun games. It's a bad combo because it's a 2 card combo, but it makes me have to play a lot of spells.
Oh yeah.
It's
I mean,
fun.
yeah, you have to build up to that and get all that life.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
however many cards you have to play, that's not too
right.
bad. That's
And
good.
then the other one that I was playing Riku, and this other guy was playing a Gonti deck. And of
Oh, I
course,
love Riku.
I'm playing Riku Walkers. So it's not your
Ooh.
traditional Riku deck, because why would I want to do that?
Right?
Yeah. So
Who
it's
needs an
more of a
Atraxa Walkers deck when you can play Riku Walkers?
right. So much better. I get to focus in, and who cares about white?
Yeah, right? Forget that.
Yeah.
Gideon stinks in EDH.
Plus, the red is just better. I prefer
Yep.
the red walkers over the white and the black.
There you go.
So, but anyhow, I digress. He was playing my stuff. He got a Zendikar Resurgent, a Gilded Lotus off me. It was
Those are good
gross.
cards.
So I decided, all right, I'm tired of this. I'm going to take Gonti. But not in the form of
Ooh.
actually stealing it. I just copied Gonti with Phyrexian Metamorph and got his Demon Lord Bells Unlocked. Although, sadly, he did kill me.
Oh, that's still a
So,
nice pull. Taking his Gonti to cast his Demon Lord Bells Unlock.
I
That's pretty
know,
sweet.
right? It was pretty sweet, pretty
Dang.
sweet. But yeah, they were just afraid of me because, I had just won with Silvala, so I can't blame them.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's awesome. Riku is definitely one of my all-time favorite EDH commanders, and I'll definitely have to rebuild him one of these days. My first build with him was much more of a focus on,
Yep.
copying creatures like rampaging Baloths,
Oh,
so that you're
gosh.
dropping lands and putting out 2/4/4 beast tokens every time that hattles. And then just copying spells. He's such a versatile
You know
commander.
what
I
I'm
love that
excited
guy.
about?
What's that?
Battle Bond.
Which we will get
No,
to
wait.
in
No,
its.
no, no, no. We're not going to do any Battle Bond anything.
Shut up. Shut up, Greg. Nope, nope. We are going to talk about Battle Bond. Don't. But first, before we do our Battle
We got
Bondage,
story stuff to go over, right?
let's dive on into Lore Corner.
You sure I can't plane shift on in?
You can plane shift, but your permanents will be destroyed.
Oh. Why?
Because Norn's.
Ah,
Whatever. All right.
man, we were still on
So
Lorne's Dominion.
So last week, Greg, we saw a fan favorite in Slimefoot. This
Oh,
week,
man.
we might have another cameo of some popularity. But Greg, how do we want to start this story this week?
Man, I don't know. Like, I read the story and it felt so much simpler than anything else. Like, it's totally more exposition and just setting the scene of what's going on.
Right.
Um,
It definitely feels like a setup episode. I think we're second to last now. I think there's
we
one more
are.
chapter.
This is episode 11 of the story. So the next
Yes.
chapter, we get to deal with settling the score in Bolus's clutches. I'm kind of excited.
Ooh. Yeah. So I
Uh,
think next week's
so,
episode is going to be incredibly juicy. But this week we join the crew of the Weatherlight as they are flying through Urborg, heading towards the Cabal stronghold. And as they pass over, they notice there's a lot of activity on the ground. Nothing very threatening, just a lot of lights flickering. It's obviously inhabited by a bunch of people. And as they kind of reach their destination and settle the Weatherlight, not down, but they're just kind of there. They drop some rope ladders and they come down, and Joyra starts talking to some panther folk, and they start to tell her, oh yeah, we're just trying to live here, and Joyra's like, okay, well, we're just gonna cut to the chase. We're going after Bells and Lock, and they're like, oh, okay, great, and you kind of get the feeling that they would love to see Bells and Lock gone too, but their forces are kind of lacking, so they just feel a little bit defeated, right, Greg? Is there too
ooh,
much else going
they're
on
pretty
here?
much at the point of where they cannot get into another fight. They don't have it in them to deal with another warring faction. They're ready to kind of subject themselves to the domination of Belzenlock.
Yep. Yep. The Cabal's influence is definitely very important. Not very important, very widespread and powerful. But the plan is as such. Teferi is going to cast a time spell, sort of a time bubble, around Chandra and Gideon. And Chandra, there's a wonderful scene of her as she's getting dressed up to look like a Cabal cleric. Liliana says you should shave your head. But Raph actually steps in and sort of carves some scars into her face. And it's pretty cool just to see the whole setup of how she's sort of cabalizing herself, so to speak. But she and Gideon...
Is she becoming a Cabalite?
There you go. But Chandra and Gideon head out for the Cabal Fortress while Teferi casts the time bubble spell around them to protect them. So essentially, everybody in the fortress sees time passing normally, and Chandra and Gideon are moving way too fast for anybody to notice them. And the plan is for them to get themselves in front of Demon Lord Belzenlok, get the Soul Drinker Blade. Gideon's going to take it, slay Belzenlok, and then the Weatherlight's going to fly overhead, scoop them up, and done and done. Party's over.
That sounds like a real great plan. You know
Yeah.
what's bad about plans?
What's bad about plans,
They
Greg?
never go to how they're supposed to.
Well, why don't you tell us, while Chandra and Gideon are moving through their time bubble, making their way through the fortress, what's Liliana doing?
So Liliana is there with Karn, Teferi, Joyra, and a few of the other people with the Weatherlight. Luckily, the Panther Warriors had given her the position of the most recent battle that they had lost.
Yeah.
Because as a necromancer, she needs the dead.
Give me them dead bodies.
Pretty much. So she, on the Weatherlight, she gets on top of the deck and totally Titanics it and starts her spell. And as she's doing her spell, she's starting to raise all of these undead warriors, liches, pretty much anything that had died recently there in that swamp. Or undied. And then everything shook behind them.
Yep.
And I mean everything. And everybody's kind of like, well, wait, is that yours? Like, I didn't know if the liches were yours, but I guess they are. And Liliana looks back at them and says, no, that's not me. And from the tone of it, the undead are telling me that's what killed them all. Now, we're not talking a small army force. We're talking like a few hundred undead are here.
Yep.
Just think, it's like 400 power.
So, Greg, what do they see sprouting up from the ground?
None other than fan favorite, Yargle.
Yargle!
You know,
The
you gotta
frog
do that.
spirit!
You gotta put in that like Phantom Menace sound where it's like da 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 da. And it's like Yargle, Yargle.
Oh, man.
Pretty much. So Yargle shows up, and everybody's like, "What?"
Yep. This thing
And
is
then
a
we cut
massive
away from
beast.
them.
What's that?
Then we cut away from them.
Yep. And then we head back to the happenings in the Cabal stronghold as Chandra and Gideon get nearer and nearer to their destination, which is the pits, where the Cabal throw in their captors or slaves or whomever captives, there you go, and they will battle it out in the pits for the amusement of Demon Lord Belzenlok. And as they get nearer and nearer to the pits, once the time bubble starts to wear off and we come back into present time, they're moving through a crowd of Cabal, and they hear the various titles of Belzenlok being chanted. You got your Demon Lord, et cetera, et cetera. But
Sign of Darkness was definitely an interesting one, being the fact that he's not the Sign of Darkness.
Right. Well, we all know Belzenlok likes to try to rewrite history, putting himself on the throne. So that's a whole other thing entirely. But they reach the pits, and out walks Whisper, Blood Liturgist, and she is sort of administering the events, the festivities. And after her, out comes Big Daddy himself, Demon Lord Belzenlok. as he sits upon his throne, and Whisper starts going around one by one saying, "You pitch them into the pit. You pitch them into the pit." And Chandra and Gideon kind of looking at each other going, "Shouldn't the Weatherlight be here by now? I hope nothing went wrong, like a gigantic frog spirit popping out of the ground doing some damage." And finally Whisper gets to Chandra and says, "You, Cabal, Cleric, throw him in." And she's sort of stalls. And Whisper looks at her and goes, "Now, or pay with your life." And so Gideon says, we kind of have to do it. Buy us some time. So Chandra kind of nudges Gideon, and Gideon pulls the biggest flop like he's in the NBA, and he just falls into the pit.
Whoa, you sure he's not a soccer player?
Or a soccer player, one of the two. But yeah, Chandra knocks Gideon into the pit in front of Belzenlock, in front of everybody, and Yargle is dealing with the people on the Weatherlight. And that's where our story ends this week.
Yeah, right? Talk about a cliffhanger.
Right? I mean, in terms of being a setup episode, it was a great setup episode. It did everything it had to do, preparing us for our final chapter. I gotta wonder though, between this last episode and the one before that being the two penultimate episodes, if you will, including characters like Slimefoot and Yargle, like was that just, did they throw that in there just to kind of throw a bone to the fans?
Quite possibly. Is there a problem with that?
I forgot one thing we did miss about the story, and I apologize. Slimefoot was communicating with a lot of living beings on the surface in Urborg.
Specifically, the Thalids of Urborg.
There you go. And the Thalids were talking to him in their own, sort of Thalid language, saying, "Who are you?"
The Liddish?
What?
The Liddish.
There you go. Liddish. They're saying, who are you? Where are you from? And Slimefoot tells them, "I'm from Yavimaya." And they say, we like Yavimaya. Oh, hey, help us, and all this other stuff. So
whoa. The way. The most interesting part about that conversation about Yavimaya is the fact that Yavimaya is here.
Oh yeah.
You remember that?
Does Urborg stretch over Yavimaya?
No. They're telling Slimefoot that Yavimaya is under Urborg. So there's Yavimayan grounds and trees and whatnot underneath all this lichen and swampland.
There you go. Yeah. So you can see Multani's power stretches far beyond just the little forest interaction we had with Karn and Jaya and Chandra. It's a whole ecosystem. That's crazy. But okay, so I get to sing last episode and you sing this episode? That's how it goes down. Okay, great. All right. Well, before we turn away any more listeners, why don't we wrap up lore? Hey, we got one more episode here, Greg.
Oh, man.
What's going to happen in this next episode? Don't we have a couple other story cards that we have not seen happen yet?
Yeah, we got Settle the Score, which is where you get to exile the creature thing, I think.
And you get two Planeswalker loyalty points?
Liliana killing Belzenlock.
Yes.
Which we already know Liliana's nowhere close to the stronghold. I mean, she is, but she isn't. Then the card everybody's questioning, in Bolus's clutches. Her contract defaults.
So you're saying these two story cards will have to take place or hold a part in the final episode that we see next week. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
I can't wait to see what happens.
Yeah, no, it looks exciting. It's talk about treachery.
Right. And if you didn't know or haven't read the flavor text on Yargle, Greg, how did Yargle actually come to be?
Yargle came to be because he was Yargle or something like that, where he was a very
was he like a high-ranking warlord or something?
Warlord in Belzenlock's army, and he wanted to overthrow Belzenlock, and Belzenlock was going to have nothing with that. So he turned him into a maggot. And then that maggot got eaten by a frog. And the hunger grew within him. And he just kept swallowing and swallowing until he was Yargle.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
Yargle.
That's Yargle.
Yep, that's Yargle. It's Kermit's cousin. So,
Brother. Other half. Wait. It's his negative side.
oh gosh. All right. Well, forget it. Before we do too much more damage, let's do some damage control. Let's pass on out of Lore Corner
Tony Stark's
and Greg.
not here.
We have a lot to talk about.
Oh man, is there so much? So
in our next segment, as foretold.
jeez.
All right. Well, why don't we take care of the short bit of news here first before we go?
Is it the elephant in the room?
No, I wouldn't say it's the elephant in the room, but we had two events happen this last weekend, or this weekend, this being Sunday when we're recording. We had an SCG Modern Open in Minneapolis,
Yep.
and we had a Grand Prix in Washington D.C., which was team sealed. I just wanted to briefly touch on the team sealed. There's not too much to really touch on here in terms of decks because the 15 rounds leading into the top 4 were just sealed. There were some really interesting highlights. Specifically, I remember seeing a player put Helm of the Host on a slime foot, which turned real bad real fast for his opponent because he had 3 copies of Slimefoot and then played Saproling Migration Kicked for 4 Saprolings. So I want to say every time one of the Saprolings died, his opponent would lose like 6 life and he would gain like 3 or 4 or something like that. It was pretty ridiculous. And then there was another match where I noticed a player, again, I apologize, I forget who, cast their Demon Lord Belzenlock, and then their opponent goes, blink of an eye, put that back in your hand, and he goes, okay. And then there was another spell cast to force him to discard a card, so he discarded Demon Lord Belzenlock, and the commentators were like, wow, I guess he has better things to do than cast Demon Lord Belzenlock. And it turns out he taps and plays another Demon Lord Belzenlock. So in this sealed pull, this guy had 2 Demon Lord Belzenlocks. That was pretty disgusting.
That is very disgusting.
Yeah, but the event was won by the team of Tenjum, Sochurek, and Ingram. Okay, here we go. We have Andrew Tenjum, Peter Sochurek, and Peter Ingram. So 2 Peters. There you go. They beat out, the rest of the top 4 was Oliver 2, Shahar Shenhar, and Andre Strasky. Then the next team was Paulo Vito Damaderosa, Eric Froelich, and Ben Stark. Some real heavy hitters there. And then rounding out 4th place, you had Brad Nelson, Brian Braunduin, and Martin Mueller. So that was a very fun and interesting event. Team sealed. It was a great way to do a Grand Prix. Fun times there, but unfortunately we can't really go too deep into deck techs because sealed is kind of rough.
Yeah.
The other event that we had was a Star City Games Modern Open in Minneapolis, and that was won by Sam Cocherella, I want to say, playing a humans list. And then
Cochiarella.
Cochiarella. There you go. Yeah. Interesting thing about his humans deck, he main decked a Restoration Angel. So while it's not a human, all these other humans have enter the battlefield effects.
Yep.
So why not go ahead and double up on one of them? As well as those 4 phantasmal images definitely makes it, double up on your fun.
It really does,
so,
yeah.
Yeah. And then rounding out the top 8, you have Jonathan Rossum on Jeskai Control, running 2 Teferi, Hero of Dominaria. You have Victor Wood on Jun, taking 3rd. Carl Johnson with Eldrazi Tron, take 4th. Jim Davis taking 5th with his Jeskai Control deck. Dylan Hand in 6th with Humans. John Philip Whetstone in 7th with Burn. And Peter Tubergen with Affinity, rounding out the 8th place. So 2 Humans decks, 2 Jeskai Control. Jund, Eldrazi, Tron, Burn, Affinity. Pretty good spread. In
Yeah.
terms of diversity. Yeah, you don't need us to tell you that Modern is a very diverse and healthy format.
It
So
really is.
yeah, yeah. And then if you want to go a little bit deeper, like 9th through 16th, you've got Mardu Pyromancer, Blue Moon, Black Red Hollow One, Green White Company. So yeah, and then Grixis Death Shadow in 17th.
Don't even forget the Elves deck.
Oh yeah,
Mono green
Yep.
Elves made into top 16.
that's pretty sweet.
It really is.
Especially with where is he? That new border looking Azuri Renegade leader. That's pretty sweet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, so with some tournaments under our belt, we've got more coming up in the coming weeks. I mean, we
Yes.
got what's next weekend?
Next weekend. Oh my gosh. Greg, why don't you tell us what's going on next weekend?
Somebody hasn't been paying attention to release schedules.
Just tell us what's going on next weekend.
Battlebond.
Oh, man.
Two-headed giant pre-release, sealed in draft. However you want to play this, it is coming to you next weekend. Now,
Is it really next weekend?
is the second.
Wow.
Yeah, release
It's
is on
upon
the
us
8th.
already.
Can you believe
Holy
that?
cow. Jeez.
So,
yep.
you know some of the interesting parts about Battlebond. I know we haven't gotten to it too much, but I looked into it more. The draft format
Yep.
is, let's say me and you were partners in the same team. We would sit next to each other, and we would get a pack together, and we would
Right.
choose 2 cards from that pack and then pass.
Sure.
Now, traditionally, when you're doing a team event like that, you would use 5 packs of Magic.
Yeah.
How many are you using for Battlebond?
I don't know. How many?
4. You get
Huh.
4 packs to build 2 decks.
Interesting.
But that's why you got that higher power level.
Right.
And,
oh, man.
And sealed will still be 6. And if you're going to Vegas in 3 weeks, yeah, I know.
3 weeks.
Talk about quick.
Wow.
Almost 2 weeks now, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're doing Battlebond two-headed giant box events.
Ooh.
So what that means is both of you pay in money and you get a box to make your decks with.
Oh, no way. Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Talk about cool. Now,
Well, let's...
we
go ahead.
got so many cards from Battlebond.
Oh, my gosh. We're going to try to talk
All right,
about...
so do we want to focus on like the reprints? Or do
We're
going
gonna
to
just
talk
talk
some
about-
of this new stuff? Do you want to just go from Mythics on down?
I think you should just... Yeah, let's just kind of free ball it as we go here, so to speak.
All right, so I'm going to pull out one big stop because this card I think is bonkers.
Okay.
Arena Rector.
Oh, you had to drop it. All right,
I
Greg,
had
tell
to
us...
drop it because I think
tell
this
us
card
about
is going
Arena-
to be bustedly broken in formats like Legacy.
Yep. Tell us what Arena Rector does.
So Arena Rector is a 3 generic white creature human cleric that is a 1/2, and when she dies, you may choose to exile her. If you do, you get to search your library for a Planeswalker card and put it on the battlefield.
Wow.
Did you
Then shuffle your library.
Yeah. I mean,
That-
could you imagine getting an Ugin on turn 3 in Legacy?
Turn 3. I mean,
Turn 2?
if you wanted to
Turn 1?
really power this thing out, like, yeah, the possibilities are endless here. This is crazy, but you're right. Getting something like an Ugin or a, Nicol Bolas God Pharaoh
Karn.
or Karn,
Or even
it's
a
so
Nicol
good.
Bolas. Like, Nicol Bolas freewheeling into your deck, and you go, huh, that's a pretty little tabernacle.
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah,
look.
right.
Is that a, oh, God, what's the Bazaar? Is that a Bazaar? That's a pretty Bazaar. Goodbye. Oh.
Yeah, or go with something more current. Grab yourself the Teferi, Hero of Dominaria, and put that thing third from the top of their library, and just sit on it, for a while like that. Ugh, man. But
There's
yeah,
so
no,
many things with this card. It is so good. I think non-foils are at 30 and foils are creeping up to 150.
yeah, no. Arena Rector is probably going to be your chase mythic of the set. So if you open one of these, congratulations, it's amazing.
Yep.
Um, all right, so yeah, let's just continue on down here. We're on Mythic Spoiler, going from the top down. We've got a couple of partner planeswalkers here.
Oh my
We have
gosh, these guys are so good.
Will Kenrith and Rowan Kenrith. It looks like it's his sister, but Will here for 4 generic blue blue. You get a 4 loyalty planeswalker who, let's see here. Until your next turn, up to 2 target creatures each have base power and toughness 0/3 and lose all abilities. That's pretty huge. -2 target player draws 2 cards until your next turn. Instant sorcery and planeswalker spells that player cast cost 2 less to cast. Yikes. And then a ultimate -8 target player gets an emblem with whenever you get an instant or sorcery spell, copy it. You may choose new targets for the copy. And then it has partner with Rowan Kenrith. Will Kenrith can be your commander. Wow.
So what's the real cool thing about these two?
So the real cool thing about these two is the fact that they're awesome.
What?
Well,
It's
I
not
don't
the
know,
fact
Greg.
that you can have partner planeswalkers as your commander?
Well, yeah, duh. That's already freaking sweet. And then let's just run through Rowan here real quick. During target player's next turn, each creature that player controls attacks if able. Okay, great. You can taunt them. Then
Whoa. That says target player, not
right.
opponent.
Okay, so target player. So if you are playing two-headed giant, you do have to target one player, and their creatures will have to attack. -2 deals 3 damage to each tapped creature target player controls. Okay, that's pretty sweet. One-sided sweltering suns.
Yep.
-8 ultimate target player gets an emblem with whenever you activate an ability that isn't a mana ability, copy it. You may choose new targets for the copy. That includes planeswalker abilities. My gosh,
Yeah.
that's pretty strong.
Wait, can I
Again,
copy
partner.
my thing from Najila?
Yeah, well, yeah, yeah. We'll get to that eventually. Okay. Where do you want to go next, Greg?
I mean, everything that's here in the Mythic slot, I'm pretty happy with. Archfiend of Despair, a 6/6 demon for 8 that has flying that says
Yep,
your opponents can't gain life.
that's huge.
Oh, yeah, and then at the beginning of each end step of each opponent's end step, they lose life equal to the amount of life they've already lost. I mean, who doesn't like a wound reflection that doesn't allow people to gain life?
So look at this. Each opponent loses life equal to the life that player lost this turn. So we're going into it a giant. You've got your Archfiend of Despair out in play. Let's say you deal 6 damage to one of your opponents. They take an extra 12 at the end of
Yeah,
that turn.
yeah.
That's nuts. So, oh my gosh. Okay. So this guy's an absolute bomb. If you get this guy in your two-headed giant pool,
Hey,
congratulations.
can
You
can
won the
I
game.
can I play this with say Underworld Dreams and a time reversal?
Sure. Sure. Uh, my mind immediately goes to Karavek, and it's like I'll
Oh
cast a
man.
spell. Okay, he'll do damage to you. Now you can both take twice that. No, gosh, that's brutal. And then the card that needs no introduction, Doubling Season. Got a reprint for green
Yeah.
here. Very much needed. Very awesome.
Another real great reprint we got in the Mythic. There's a couple here. We got True Name Nemesis, which
Yes.
foils are already going for 220.
Yep. Yep. That's
Land
pretty
tax.
insane. Yep.
And then we've got a
So
bunch of new cards.
so this. Oh, go ahead.
I'm excited for this stunning reversal.
Oh yeah, took the words right out of my mouth. Go for it.
3 generic black instant that says the next time you would lose the game this turn, instead, draw 7 cards and your life total becomes 1. Then exile stunning reversal. Shows a guy with a mohawk grabbing onto the edge of the stage. This card is just so cool because, sure, things happen. Your opponents win the game by the hair of their chinny chin chin, and you go, ha ha! I'm alive. Take that.
Yep. And the implications, seeing as all these cards are legal in Legacy, make this card very, very interesting because
Oh, wow,
who
I
does
didn't
not
even
want
think of that. I mean,
who does not want to
Storm
respond?
hates this.
I was going to say, who does not want to respond to a combo deck by casting Stunning Reversal and just being like, yeah, nice try. Now it's my turn. I'm going to win. That
Pretty
just
much.
sounds so brutal.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
All right,
No,
what
Stunning
do you see
Reversal.
here?
I see a card that is just absolutely incredible. Now, if you're in a multiplayer game of like Commander and you want to use this card, that's going to be a little tougher. I mean, drawing 7 cards is definitely nothing to sneeze at here. But
I mean, some people do sneeze at it.
okay, whatever. But still, the next time you would lose the game this turn instead. So it's not like it prevents you. It's not like Teferi's Protection where you're safe until your next turn.
Yeah.
It's legitimately just that one time that you would lose the game. It does these things. Even doing things like copying this spell, it would only draw you more cards. Your life total still gets to be 1. But yeah, very, very
Whoa,
powerful
wait.
card.
So if I had a Boon Reflection out when I played this, would my life go to 2?
No.
It's
No,
life gain.
because it says no. It says you're. Well, what does Boon Reflection do?
Whenever you would gain life, gain double that. So if you die, you go to 0, and you gain a life, you would go to 2.
You know what? I think you're right, Judge. Okay, no,
we
I
need
think
an
you're right. I think
exception
you
over here.
sure. But let's jump to the next one here. I like this white morphling here. We have Brightling for 1 white. We have a 3/3 creature shapeshifter. For 1 white, Brightling gains vigilance or lifelink, or you can pay a white to return it to its owner's hand, or you can pay a generic and it gets +1/-1 or -1/+1 until end of turn. So a cheaper version of Morphling, but still incredibly versatile.
It is.
Don't know if this can pop into like a Death and Taxes build for Legacy. It's going to be hard pressed to see some real position for play, but a very strong card, and at 3 mana, very, very attractive. I really do like this card.
The funniest thing that I've seen about people talking about Brightling is, where's the black one? We have Thornling, we have Morphling, we have Torchling, we have Brightling, but we don't have a Blackling.
Maybe in whatever Battle Bond 2 or Conspiracy 5 or whatever, we might get our final Blackling.
Are you
but,
sure it's not going to be the return to Ravnica?
I don't know. I have no idea. No, it seems like that would be way too like monocolored of a card, and we're going to be gilded up.
True.
Unless it's in that 3rd Ravnica set when everything goes haywire. But
I don't know. That'll be so interesting. All right. Anyhow, couple more.
Talk about
your
green mythic here.
I know. I was going to. It's like you read my mind. Bramble Sovereign. If you guys
I am a blue mage.
haven't seen this, this is a blue card in green, pretty much. That's the best way you can put this. This is essentially a blue card that it's green. So it's a 2 generic green 4/4 creature dryad. And it says whenever another non-token creature enters the battlefield. That doesn't say under your control, does it?
Yep. You're absolutely right.
You may pay a generic in green. If you do, that creature's controller creates a token that's a copy of that creature.
There you go. That's how it evens itself out.
You go and play, I don't know, Kedrick Leviathan. I pay 2. You get 2 of them, and you get to bounce your original.
Oh, wow.
Oh, isn't that fun?
True.
How about somebody doing just crazy things? Hoarding Dragon? I'll get a Hoarding Dragon. That seems good.
Hey, guess what? You just played a Phage the Untouchable from your hand. Now you lose.
Oh my. Yeah, yeah. Wow, never saw that.
Good
Consecrated Saints is
Lord.
kind of busted with this too. But this card is
Yeah.
just really good, and it plays really nicely in a team deck because, oh, you just got a Brightling, get a second one.
Yep. Yep. No, that copying creatures is incredibly powerful. I could see this thing going in a Riku deck in a second and just continuing to dude, you could make the craziest Riku like creature copying deck with this.
Wait, why would I
Um
want to use Riku when I can use Animar?
well, because copies, bro.
Yeah, but
Copies.
Animar makes them cost less. I mean,
Right.
would you like to cast an um uh Ulamog's Pathfinder for free and pay 2 and get 2?
No, what I want to have is I want to have doubling season out. I want to have parallel lives out, and I want to have Bramble Sovereign out in my
Whoa.
Riku deck.
You
So
forgot the
anytime
copy
I cast,
enchantment on doubling season. And the
so
clever
that hey,
impersonator on it.
so that anytime I cast a creature, I can pay blue green, one in a green, and one red with my Flame Shadow Conjuring to create an insane
Wait one
amount of
moment. You forgot
tokens.
Minion Reflector, so you can add in another 2 colorless.
Sure, absolutely. But yeah, go bonkers with all this stuff. That just sounds like gravy. All right. So another mythic that we have here to round, not to round us out. We have a lot of mythics.
We got 5 more.
Yeah, we do. So we'll try to breeze through here. We have Najila, the Blade Blossom. For 2 and a red, you get a 3/2 legendary human warrior. Whenever a warrior attacks, you may have its controller create a 1/1 white warrior creature token that's tapped and attacking. But wait, this is a red card creating white? What the what? Oh, wait. For for white, blue, black, red, green,
Wooburg.
untap all attacking creatures. They gain trample, lifelink, and haste until end of turn. After this phase, there is an additional combat phase. Activate this ability only during combat.
Now,
Um,
what's really cool about this?
wait a minute. It does not say activate it only once, right?
I mean, yeah.
But it says after this, gain an additional. So I guess that doesn't work. But
What
yeah,
doesn't work?
okay. So if you were to attack and you were to pay Wooburg twice, right?
Mm-hmm.
It says untap all attacking creatures. They gain trample, lifelink, haste until end of turn. After this phase, there is an additional combat phase. Activate that. Okay, I guess it does stack.
But,
I guess it does
let's
stack.
add another layer into this and use Nature's Will.
What's Nature's Will do?
Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, untap all lands you control.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Sword of Feast and Famine.
Okay. Okay.
Bear Umbra.
Okay. Savage Ventmaw. Okay.
Well, Savage Ventmaw is not as strong because it only gives you triple red, triple green.
That's true. That is true.
But
Yeah.
all these cards allow you to go infinite. But what's really, really cool about this specifically is this is a warrior that creates warriors when warriors attack. It doesn't
Yep.
need to be token warriors attacking. So
Right.
I'll swing in with 3, pay 5. I'll get 4 damage because I get a 1/1 warrior attacking. Untap all my creatures and gain another attack step. I'm going to attack in now with 2 dudes. I will
Dude,
get
this is
2
gonna
more
make-
dudes and take another attack step. And now I'll attack with 4 dudes.
Dude, this is gonna make Secure the Wastes go bonkers, dude.
Do you know what other card goes good with this?
What's that?
Shared Animosity.
Oh my God. What does that do?
So it's a 2 generic and a red enchantment. Artist by Chuck Lukacs. I like
Nice.
this artist. He's one of my favorites. And it says, whenever a creature you control attacks, it gets +1/+0 for each other attacking creature that shares a type with it
Oh wow.
until
Oh,
end of
wow.
turn. Oh, I'll attack with 2 warriors. Oh, it gets +1/+0. I'll attack with 4 warriors. There's an additional +3/+0, so now it's got +4/+0.
Jeez. Yeah.
Boom.
No, that's and of course Secure the Waste is a white and X.
Mhm.
What is it? Is it an instant? I think it's an instant. Yeah, white and X create X 1/1
Uh,
white soldier creature tokens.
I'm pretty sure White Sun Zenith puts out Cat Warriors.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that's such a fun commander. That's gonna be amazing. Um, moving on here. Uh,
Grathama.
yeah,
Grathama.
yeah.
The All
Tell us about
Devouring.
Grathama, Greg.
He's a 3 generic green legendary creature. Worm. Yes, this is our first legendary worm ever.
Oh my gosh, Worm Tribal.
Worm tribal. And it says other creatures have whenever this creature attacks, you may have it fight Grothama the All Devouring. That's all other creatures, right? And then it
Right.
says when Grothama leaves the battlefield, each player draws cards equal to the amount of damage dealt to the Grothama this turn by sources they controlled.
Wow, that's very, very tempting to have people just swing out and deal all their damage to Grathama. But with 10 power, as soon as Grathama fights all those creatures, you know they all gonna die.
Oh yeah,
That's crazy.
it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then there's like Nirkana Reverend, War Soul, and
Land
what's this other card here?
land tax, dude. Land tax. I mean, this card is this the
Judge
first foil?
art. No,
First,
second.
oh, we had a judge foil printing, right?
Yeah.
But this is the first pack foil that we've had of land tax.
Oh yeah.
Which, you know, one white enchantment at the beginning of your upkeep. If an opponent controls more lands than you may search your library for up to 3 basic land cards, reveal them, put them in your hand, then shuffle your library. Never have to worry about lands again. Huge reprint. I think that's pretty much it for that card.
Arcane Artisan, man.
Yeah.
Let me hear
yeah.
you talk about this one. I've talked a
Okay.
lot about cards.
All right, no worries. So for 2 and a blue, you get a 0/3 human wizard. Tap 2 and a blue and tap it. Target player draws a card, then exiles a card from their hand. If a creature card is exiled this way, that player creates a token that's a copy of that card. When Arcane Artisan leaves the battlefield, exile all tokens created with it at the beginning of the next end step. So, as long as you can protect Arcane Artisan, it's pay 3, tap, draw a card, and play a card for free from your hand.
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy. Especially with the whole token copying, doubling season, all this, that, and the other. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Obviously, Arcane Artisan becomes your, you must protect this card. But still, the power level of being able to just put forth that much power while, supplementing your hand with more cards is just, it's so good.
It really is.
Forget if you can untap this thing and reuse it. You're like, I tap 3, tap it. I'll draw a card and put a copy of Blightsteel Colossus on the battlefield. Or I'll tap it and put insert creature X onto the battlefield. The biggest, nastiest Nirkana Revenant. Sure, absolutely. Your Grothama.
Whoa, that's a
your,
legend.
Your true name Nemesis. Your
Archfiend of Despair.
Your Arena
Arena
Rector.
Rector?
Why not? Because when it leaves the battle, you exile them. Okay. So if you had an Arena Rector copy out, when Arcane Artisan leaves the battlefield, your Arena Rector copy will get exiled, and you will not get to go and fetch your Planeswalker. So
Yeah.
that's just... Oh, a Magmatic Force. There you go. That's the one you want. That's just a house. All right. Well, that does it for the Mythics. Greg, were there any others that you wanted to just briefly touch on as we kind of go through here? There's so much.
Them. I feel Wars Told is the only Mythic in here that I feel is not Mythic caliber.
Oh, really? Okay. What does Wars Told do? Because I don't think we actually talked about that.
We haven't talked about Wars Told. It is a 3 generic and a red enchantment. It says whenever an opponent taps a land for mana, they must tap all lands.
Ooh.
Now, that's not tap lands for mana, just tap them all.
Right.
And then it says if a creature an opponent controls attacks, all of their creatures attack if able.
Yep. That's pretty huge. That is pretty huge.
Yeah.
Okay, so just a couple notable reprints here. True Name Nemesis, first time foil printing. We have Mystic Confluence, again, first time foil printing. Very, very interesting card. I know I myself am looking forward to getting a copy of Greater Good for my green decks.
Yep.
You got that Sower of Temptation. We already talked about Pia and Toothy. Here we go. Let's talk about Spellseeker for a second. I'm very curious to see how this card performs.
That card's going to be so good.
2 and a blue for a human wizard, 1/1. When it enters the battlefield, you search your library for an instant or sorcery card with converted mana cost 2 or less. Reveal it, put it in your hand, then shuffle your library. That's counterspell. That's any kind of cheap removal. That's just the possibilities are endless.
Yeah, no, it's really strong. I mean, you could get back Thrilling Encore.
Yeah.
Oh no,
whatever
that's
that
a
does.
5-drop. Sorry, that doesn't work.
Oh, okay. All right, you can't get that one.
But
sorry.
It gets a 2-drop.
Yeah.
Do you know what this card gets?
What's that?
In Vintage.
What's that?
Time Walk.
Time Walk, Ancestral Recall, everything. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Another much needed reprint here, Seedborn Muse. I was very excited and proud to say that I actually sold my copy of Seedborn Muse the day before it got previewed.
Yeah.
I was very happy about that, I must say. But Greg, you mentioned Vigor getting a reprint. That's huge.
That's really big. Tidespout Tyrant, Core Spirit Dancer, both very strong.
Tyrant. Bro, Spell Snare. Spell Snare was really creeping up there in terms of price, but hopefully this will bring it back down to manageable levels.
Getting a pack foil.
Yeah.
Beast Within again, Swords to Plowshares. I mean, we're looking at some uncommons, but I want to talk about some of these new rares. Like Sylvia Brightspear and Corvath Brightflame.
Ooh.
So these are the red-white partner. The white one is a 2/2 for 3. Has double strike and says dragons your team controls have double strike. Yes, I did say double strike to dragons.
Dragons, wow.
And then Corvath Brightflame is a 6-drop 3/4 dragon that partners with it. Has flying and haste and says knights your team controls have flying and haste.
Whoa.
Because wouldn't that be amazing if all your knights and dragons just rode together into battle?
Oh, that'd be so awesome.
That is essentially
exactly
what this is doing.
Yep.
Oh, that's so cool.
That's sweet. You got Magus of the Candelabra here. Which is, I think, only the second time this card's been printed, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
And then you've also got, let's see here, Sower of Temptation.
Man, you're just on this whole reprint kick, aren't you?
I am.
Know what?
Well,
I've got a new reprint for you that's not a reprint.
What's that?
Game Plan.
Oh, okay. Tell us about Game Plan, but then we got to wrap things up here.
But I got another card I got to talk about before we wrap up.
Okay, Game Plan.
All right,
go.
Game Plan is 5 generic and a blue sorcery. Has assist, so that means your team player, another player, can pay up to 5 of this. Oh, that's another player, not teammate.
Ooh,
I didn't even think of that. And it says each player shuffles their hand and graveyard into their library, then draws 7 cards. Exile Game Plan. So it is Time Reversal, Time Twister, Time Spiral. They gave us another, and I'm excited.
That's awesome.
The other card I wanted to talk about before we left is the new Rise of the Dark Realms, also known as Thrilling Encore. This is a black instant for generic and a black that says put onto the battlefield under your control all creature cards and all graveyards that were put there from the battlefield this turn.
Oh, wow.
Is that not good?
So, I mean, let's just go for an efficiency rating here. Let's say you just cast Bontu's Last Reckoning for 3 mana, and then for an additional 5, so 8 total mana, you can blow everything up and then put it on the battlefield under your control.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jeez.
And you can
Jeez.
now here's a fun one. All right, let's
Okay.
say they are sacrificing Eldrazi to shuffle their graveyard into their deck. You
Yep.
can respond to the trigger to shuffle the card into the deck with this.
Oh my god.
Would you like to steal an Eldrazi?
Oh, I'd love to steal an Eldrazi.
I would
That's just
too.
fantastic. It is an instant. Oh, that's sweet.
Is so good.
That is so
Um,
good.
I also
Yep.
I can't wait to make Bartertown.
Make what?
Bartertown.
Okay.
Master Blaster.
Please
Cinder
tell
Split,
us.
Eye of
Please tell
Wisdom,
us.
and Okan, Eye of Chaos. You remember Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome?
Sure.
Do you remember who runs Bartertown?
Nope.
Master Blaster runs Bartertown.
Oh my gosh.
And Master Blaster was a big old hulking human with a little tiny human as his controller. So Cinder Split the Homunculus is a 4 generic blue 1/4 that says at the beginning of your combat on your turn, flip a coin until you lose a flip. And whenever a player wins a coin flip, draw a card.
Huh.
And then Okan, Eye of Chaos, is a 4 generic red 3/3 that says at the beginning of combat on your turn, flip a coin until you lose a flip. And whenever a player wins a coin flip, double Okan's power and toughness until end of turn.
Ooh. That sounds like fun. Okay, well, in the spirit of talking about more cards, I do have one more that I want to talk about.
Oh,
It's
what do you
not
wanna
a
talk
reprint.
about?
It's not a reprint, Greg, but it is an artifact. And this card is called Sentinel Tower. So for 4 mana, you get an artifact that says whenever an instant or sorcery spell is cast during your turn, Sentinel Tower deals damage to any target equal to 1 plus the number of instant and sorcery spells cast before that spell this turn. So this goes out to all my Is It mages out there. Those of you who like to cast those 1 and 2 drop instant and sorcery spells while you have that gutter snipe out, this just will combo for maximum damage over the course of a turn when you're casting these little spells and just accruing tons and tons of value as you cast maybe your 5th spell for 1 mana and you're able to deal 5 damage to a creature or player. Great card. Again, in the right deck, probably some sort of Is It deck, definitely will be extremely, extremely powerful.
Yeah, you're right there. All right. So I kind of dragged this on. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. That's okay. That's what we're here for.
Let's crack a brewski and get
Yeah,
over
let's
to
head.
the Brewmaster's lair. Yeah, I did the
Good.
transfer. You like that?
Yeah, that was refreshing not to have to do that, man.
Man,
Load
did
off
you
my
like
back.
that drink? Was it good?
Oh man, it's so delicious. All right, so here in the Brewmaster's Lair this week, we wanted to, in the spirit of Two-Headed Giant, talk to y'all a little bit about building Two-Headed Giant decks and what we like to take into account when we build these.
Right.
I know we had that Dominaria pre-release a couple weeks back, and it was very, very fun, very successful. But when you're building your Two-Headed Giant decks going into BattleBond here, you gotta take some things into account. You're not playing 1v1, you are playing a multiplayer game. But Greg, what are some things you want to keep in mind while you're piecing together
Well,
that deck for Two-Headed Giant?
I have a couple of ways that I suggest you get started. Of course, you're still looking to play the most powerful version of your deck. But you also
Absolutely.
need to remember these are one match games.
Yes.
Sideboards do not matter.
Correct.
If there's something you're going to be afraid of running, it's good to have a dead card to have the answer. Because if you don't have that answer, you just lose.
Right.
So you got to have answers. Really, you do.
Right.
One of the interesting things that me and my partner have always done when we're playing Two-Headed Giant, and by partner, the guy I've always played Two-Headed Giant with is Andrew, just because Sean is too far away from me.
Too
So
bad. So
far,
sad.
Forever
Oh.
alone. Anyhow, we take our 6 packs each, we break them apart, we sort them by color, and then we stack the piles together. And then going through each color, we pull out each card. Essentially, we separate them to 2 stacks of cards that are chaff and cards that are playable. Um, and then we kind of find out where our strong points are in the colors, mix those together, or synergy, whatever it may be, and then we start our decks from there.
Right. I know when we were making the decks for the Dominaria pre-release, me and my partner, we came to the idea that one of us was going to be an aggressive deck and another one was going to be a control deck. And usually that works out because a lot of the cards that both players will open in their respective sealed pools, or together you will open, you can kind of separate them out and have them synergize, much better with a certain deck archetype than another. And that's not to say that if you don't open the right pulls and the right rares, that you can't have two aggressive decks that are very, formidable. But the fact that removal is best sort of focused into one deck, because if you have a deck that really tries to get aggressive, really wants to cast those cards, keep the ball rolling. The second they draw a card that does not synergize with their game plan, it gets a little awkward.
Right.
So you want to make sure that regardless of your color combination, every card that you draw is going to be gas for you.
Right.
And that's even more important because you have a partner who's doing the exact same thing. So even if one of you may slip up in a draw, like you drew a land when you were hoping not to, you can count on your opponent to have some sort of an answer to keep your field, effective and threatening towards your opponent. But like you said, Greg, no sideboards. It's one game, so your deck has to matter from the get-go.
It does. Other things that are really important to know about when you're playing your two-headed giant events, you get one free mulligan per player.
Yep.
So if your hand is bad, don't feel like you're going to get beat up for it. You can get rid of it and go for a new hand. Other really cool things, you can mill out a singular player and still win the game.
Good
if
point.
Either of the players can't draw a card, that means they lose.
Yep.
I had this happen during a Zendikar block two-headed giant with Hedron Crab and Fetch Lands.
I was going to say, was Hedron Crab involved in the mix? Because that definitely sounds like a possibility.
Is super strong in limited. If you can ever draft that card in limited, you take it.
These are 40-card decks, too. So if you're that control deck sitting there just trying to draw cards, but you're not getting anywhere, well, next thing you know, you might be running out of cards if the board stalls long enough to kind of count you out. Because if you're running that Pier and Toothy, and that Toothy gets to be a 20/20 and you draw 20 cards, you better be able to win that next turn. Otherwise, you might not be able to draw a card.
Yeah. So there's a lot of good things to know there. The other thing is that in two-headed giant or two-headed draft even, you play with a combined pool. Most people, when they get in two-headed event, they think their pool is their pool, and they have to build their deck from that. No, you're sharing your pool. Build together. Nothing's wrong with that. Everybody's got a card that they got to play in an event, or this is too good not to play. Like in Kaladesh, it was Reckless Fire Reaver, because that said whenever you cast instant or sorcery, you deal damage to each opponent. Something like that. And then you have the pirate that tapped to deal damage to each opponent that untapped when you played a pirate.
And Greg, let's not forget about fan favorite Debt to the Deathless, which can do
that card is so good.
Damage to each opponent. And since you're playing against a two-headed giant, that does count twice. They lose that much life and you gain that much life, which is incredibly powerful.
So strong. I can imagine the 20 to 30 point life swings with that card. It was just so good.
My gosh. Yeah, and then I'm going to include this in this segment because we kind of forgot to talk about it in the previous segment, but there is a board wipe in white called Play of the Game. For 6 white, it's a sorcery that has Assist, which is a new mechanic that says another player can pay up to 6 of this spell's cost, and that's another, not multiple, so just one other player. And it says exile all non-land permanents. So that's the whiteboard wipe you need to be aware of when you're playing this BattleBond format. But also, if you want to take this card to an EDH game, it's going to be, very political.
It's a house.
You will definitely find situations where you have other players willing to pay more mana than you may think to wipe the board, considering they will get to untap before you will. And they're not, they'll be like, oh yeah, I'll pay that, 5 or even 6, and all you got to pay is white to wipe the board.
I think one of my favorite cards that gave me that idea was Temporal Extortion.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny. You got somebody at 40 life, and you play this 4 black spell that gives you an extra turn unless somebody pays half their life. And most often than not, that first player says, yep, snap, I'll take 20 life. And you're like, okay, I'll play a 4-mana spell any day to deal 20 damage.
Yeah, seriously, sounds like a good deal to me.
Good.
All right, well, Greg, we've kind of gone on here, so we better start
ramble?
wrapping things up. Oh yeah, rambling is totally fine. But let's also remind everybody that all this BattleBond product, as well as Dominaria product, is available at Flipside Gaming at flipsidegaming.com, where you can go ahead and place any order you want, and any order over $10, use that promo code WINCONDITION in all caps to save yourself 10% off your purchase. You want to buy a box? Guess what? You can save yourself 10% by using that promo code WINCONDITION. And orders over $100, you get that free shipping. So that's just value right there.
Value down.
And using that promo code will help to contribute to future show giveaways. Greg, where can these fine Magic players on the interwebs get a hold of you if they want to talk to you about Two-Headed Giant?
Well, you can find me on Twitter at NoobSlasher2003.
And you can find me on Twitter at MTG_Sean. The show is at The Win Condition. You can email us, and I mean us because we do both check the email,
We do.
at thewinconditionpodcast@gmail.com. We got a wonderful email since our last episode talking about a potential deck tech that we would want to go over. So you can look forward to that in our next episode. There's a teaser for you. But anyway, check out our Instagram, The Win Condition MTG. Check out our YouTube page. There is a link in the show notes. And all that being said, Greg, thanks again.
Oh, always a pleasure. Sorry, I don't mean to be yawning so much. It's just been a long day.
And we will talk to y'all next week.
Have a great time, guys.
Happy Memorial Day.